here in the studio, we are having a discussion that follows up on the discussion that was held here in the studio yesterday. We are talking about the waste situation in Ghana. Specifically, we are talking about what the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant is doing to help reduce the quantum of waste that we find littered everywhere in Ghana. Now, it is estimated that Accra alone generates about 3,000 metric tons of waste daily, on a daily basis. Now, out of this quantum, the majority happens to be plastic waste. You also have organic materials in there, but the majority of this comes from the sachet rubbers that we drink, the pure water rubber, the broken plastic chairs, the plastic bottles, and all of these things. And if you've gone by the Korle Lagoon recently, you will understand that indeed plastics are a huge menace. You see it littered all over the lake, and it's an unsightly place to pass by any time. But there appears to be some hope for our country. There's a plant that has been set up to ensure that the waste that we generate is recycled, and that's the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant. In the studio this morning, I am joined by Reverend Dr. Richard Amponsa. He is the Managing Director of the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant. Thank you very much. We'll watch a video shortly, and when we come back, we will engage Dr. Amponsa in a conversation about what we are doing to save our environment.
Metric tons of waste daily. However, the city claims about 60% of the waste generated. Where does the 40% end up? According to the Environmental Service Providers Association of Ghana, ESPA, the 40% ends up in our various communities, gutters and drains, a situation they say contributes to the perennial flooding in the country. Measures prescribed to deal with the environmental challenges in the country include a deepened collaboration with the private sector. One of such initiatives is the Accra Compost Plant, which is an integrated waste processing and recycling plant situated at Media in the Gan West municipality. It was established to contribute to waste management in Accra. Since 2012, the company has been providing effective processing, management and recycling of solid and liquid waste for the Accra metropolis, Gan West, Gan Central and several other assemblies. As calls to shut down Lavender Hills intensifies, the Accra Compost Plant is positioning itself for the challenge with the construction of a wastewater treatment plant to process 1,000 metric tons of liquid waste daily into highly dried compact sludge. The 80% completed facility is expected to be commissioned in March 2016, in line with the time frame announced by the President, John Mahama, to shut down Lavender Hill. The compost plant is, however, facing several challenges.
Nibi pi ngbaona ye ga titu ko kwe Lavender Hill wofi odwomake obanga na kan Lavender Hill because he ake na kan ni bashi ni na mi enshona he wofi odwomake obanga na kan Lavender Hill ni hemoke ile ake by early first quarter of next year Lavender Hill obanga Nakan Lavender Hill. Ejake Nakan Mudo treatment plant ni wachuo. Wash 80% completion. Ni by first quarter of next year obagbina. So ke ogbina nakan tanchorete nakan ni bi fen abaya atwe ye jeme koni atreatle ni echon harmless no dani wokeba wo Shona.
All right, so you heard the President, John Dramani Mahama, talking about the need for the country to shut down the Lavender Hill. Lavender Hill is a huge blot on our integrity as a country. The way that untreated fecal matter is dumped into the sea is something that should cause every Ghanaian to feel ashamed. Fortunately, as I said earlier, there is hope, and that is why Reverend Dr. Richard Amponsa, who is the Managing Director of the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant, is here. He is going to share with us what they are doing to provide hope for the environment. You are welcome to the studio once again.
Thank you, Michael.
Now, Reverend, I hope you don't mind if I call you Reverend, although you're talking about waste and filth.
That's okay.
Now, the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant, What are the major things that you do in there?
Well, thank you very much, Michael. Let me use this opportunity to congratulate the Ghana Armed Forces for their 50th year anniversary. I think it's no mean achievement. Let me also use this opportunity to extend my greetings to the Jospon family, led by Dr. Sian Japon. And also, I want to extend my greetings to our listeners this morning. The Accra Compost and Recycling Plant was established in 2012, just was said. And the rationale for setting up such a facility was to have an alternative solution to waste management in the city of Accra. And by that, I don't know whether you've been to any of these landfill sites in Abokobi, in Tema, in Pong, and all those areas. If you go there, you see the kind of environmental hazards that are there. We felt that there was a need to have a suitable alternative that is socially viable and also financially viable and also economically viable. So the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant was set to receive municipal solid waste from Accra. Municipal solid waste has to do with a mixture of waste which is made up of organic, which is made up of plastics, which is made up of wood, metal, all kinds of things come to Accra Compost, and then we recycle it. We take it through a process of both mechanical intervention and then manual intervention.
Now, you mentioned municipal solid waste. The numbers indicate that Accra alone generates about 3,000 metric tons of waste. What is the capacity of your plant?
Our design capacity is 600 tons per day. That is for one shift, and which means that we do, let's say, a third of the waste that is generated in Accra.
Okay.
But there is room for an improvement. We are thinking about expanding the facility in recent times. We have investors that are coming around to come and see the facility.
All right, so Accra generates 3,000, but you are able to process 600.
Plus.
All right, so that is 1 of 5.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the waste that comes to your facility, what really are some of the major components of the waste that comes in there?
Yes, like you rightly said, Michael, a chunk of the waste is plastics, okay? Or different kinds of plastic. We have the PET bottle, which is the Voltic bottle that then we have the high density plastics, which is the sachet. We have the low density plastics, the plastics that we buy things and put it in. And we have the PPTs, all kinds of plastics. I mean, we have different kinds of plastics. The chunk of it is plastics. I would say that more than 60% of the waste that comes there is plastics. And then we have, let's say, about 20% being organic materials.
Okay.
And then we have metals. We have all kinds of waste.
So when the plastics come to your facility, what processes do they go through?
Yes, like we said, they come in a mixture.
Okay.
And then when they come, we take them through the process. There is what we call the primary sorting. The primary sorting are human interventions where people are there wearing their protectors, and then they sort those bulky materials and all that. And then we take it through the secondary process where it goes through what we call a rotary screen. And the rotary screen is just a screen, 60mm mesh with protrusions which pierce into the waste. And then the organic portion, which is less than 60mm, go through the mesh.
So at the time when we are watching the pictures on the screen now, at the time that the humans are doing the sorting, the organic portions or the organic part of the waste is still in there.
Yeah, the organic portions are in there.
And as you and I know, most of the time, things that are tied in the plastic, the black plastic bags are most of the time things that people shouldn't see.
Yes.
But isn't there a way to remove that organic portions before the persons would have to do the sorting, saving them from the unfortunate incident of meeting something tied in a plastic rubber bag?
At the moment, our process does not permit that. We have the primary sorting. That's why I say human interventions. We have to, people wear their protectors, and then they literally take those ones, okay, and remaining the others. So the bulky materials like those diapers, fecal matter wrapped in polythene bag, like you're saying, are literally taken by people in that human intervention process.
Now, beyond that, I also see cans.
Yes.
When we watched that video, we saw cans.
Okay.
Let's first talk about what happens to the plastics.
Okay.
At the end of the sorting and the processing, what becomes of the plastic component?
Yes, the plastics, like I said, there are different types of plastics. For example, the sachet ones, which is the low high density plastics, are washed, and then we take them through what we call the recycling process, where they are pelletized. We pelletize them into pellets.
Okay.
And then we sell them to some customers, like Eco-Plastics and so on. And the others, like the PET bottles, the Voltic bottles, are baled. Okay. And we have an Indian company that comes to pick them. Okay. So we have market for such ones. Okay. And we have other types of, like, we shred some of the plastics, those ones that we cannot bale, and those ones that we cannot also pelletize, we shred them. Okay.
When you shred them, what then?
Oh, we shred them into smaller units, and then we keep them, we build them. Okay. We also have market for those ones as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So it means that really, what we call waste, nothing is really waste. People spend money to acquire these things. Then, I mean, this is a superb thing that should be done in every part of Ghana. This is the solution to our waste menace. Why aren't we building these plants all over Ghana and processing or recycling the waste?
And I think that is one of the reasons why I'm here this morning, that we can go into that. Like I said, there is a law in physics that waste cannot be destroyed. It is created from one form to another, or is made from one form to another. Every waste that is generated in this country, I say 90% plus, could be taken into one form or the other. It is done elsewhere. The reason we can't do that is that these kinds of process are capital intensive. For example, if I tell you the cost of this facility that you see there, you'll be amazed. And because of the capital intensive nature of that facility, it makes private entities don't like to enter into such venture, except with a clear support from government to say that, well, we would help you do this kind of thing.
Is that to say that your investment does not match your returns?
It is extremely difficult, world all over. You don't go anywhere to say that private people have gone into this kind of thing without the support of government. It's almost impossible, because the products, the returns on the investments are so low and so on, except government comes in. In any case, I believe that waste management is government business. The waste that is generated in the city has to be managed by government.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, touch briefly on the cans. What becomes of the cans?
Oh, the cans are pressed, and then we sell them to prospective customers.
Okay.
By our marketing
locally.
companies. Oh, locally, yes.
Okay. Now, one thing that the president mentioned was the decision to close the Lavender Hill. But in all of our discussion, we have spoken about plastics, we've spoken about the organic component. We haven't really touched on the liquid waste. Does your facility process liquid waste?
Yes, there is a liquid waste processing facility that is in the process of installation. We are currently installing a facility that is going to process 1,000 cubic meter of liquid waste in Accra. And I think that is what the president talked about. The civil works have been completed long ago. What they are doing currently is that they are installing the plant.
Okay.
And by January 2016, the process would have begun, operationalization would have begun. If you come to Accra Compost, almost the installation is about 70–80% complete. What it means is that when that is immediately done, the Lavender Hill would have to be closed, where the liquid waste would be driven to Accra Compost.
But do you have the capacity to take on everything that Accra generates in terms of liquid waste?
For if I should use the tanks, the trucks that we have, each truck is, say, 5 tons, right? We are going to generate about 1,000 tons. Even if truck is going to, we have some trucks which are 10 tons. If it's good, or 10 cubic meter. If we're going to generate 1,000 tons, we are talking about close to 200, 250 trucks driving to Accra Compost per day. Every day. In that case, a substantial amount of liquid waste would have been solved in Accra. It means that the Lavender Hill would have to be closed.
Okay. Now, even then, the question then remains. You have said here that you cannot go into these investments if government does not support you. The returns that you get on your investments is not commensurate to the initial investment.
Precisely.
So how do you hope to sustain these things? Are you going to still depend on government to offer you support? And
yes, that is what sometimes we think, that the shareholder is something else, because he sees the problems that we have in this country, and out of a certain genuine heart and concern, he feels that these problems would have to be solved. Well, one of the reasons why we have also been there to help is that we think that when we say a country is developed, one of the indicators of development is how the country manages its waste. If you don't manage your waste well, you are not a developed country. You can build all the road infrastructure and all that. If your environment is dirty, investors come and they are not happy, and they would want to leave. People want to see, if you go elsewhere, you see the environment, you see how clean the environment is, and so on and so forth. I think that people like the shareholder sees that, and he feels that, no, things must be solved. And then he goes in with his investment, and then he gets government support along the way. So it is a very risky business. He goes in there, then later the government sees the effort, and he says, I come in to come and support. It is very difficult. In
your case, has government given you that assurance as coming
well, well, if I should take what the president said, that the Lavender Hills should be closed down, it means that implicitly the government is saying, that the president is saying that we are going to give you a lending hand for what you are going to do. That is implicitly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not too sure. Well, at the moment, I don't know but from what the president said, it is an indication that the government wants to lend a hand to what we are doing at Accra Compost.
All right, we all hoping that indeed government lends a hand so that the waste in our environment will be removed, because he's already explained that they're going to be removing liquid waste, plastic waste, organic waste, all from our environment. They have the capacity to ensure that all these things are recycled. All they need is support from government so they can keep running this facility. We have been speaking to Reverend Dr. Richard Amponsa, who is the Managing Director of the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant. Thank you once again for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Michael.
You're so live on Metro TV, and it's Good Morning Ghana. Let's go over to Kobe G Live for Click.